All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm going to start this a minute or two early because it might be a bit longer today. I want to again wish you a happy holiday. Thank you for coming out. Like I said, this is the first in I'm not sure how many that will be in my moving on from my Gen 1 digital years to my Gen 2 digital years. I am not planning on redoing all of my photos at a certain point. They will be these streams of my older stuff won't quite be as necessary as they are right now, but this one is definitely on the more necessary side of than less necessary. Although have no fear, I do it. We'll address other content coming up for Christmas at the end of the stream for any of those who are for the 1 or 0 people who are currently watching right now. Anyway, for the people who are joining not live, this is going to be the part 1 of 2 of the SEPTA Mid-Winter Trip 6 in 2006, which involved taking the fairly newly opened New Jersey Transit RiverLINE up to Trenton, because never in a SEPTA Mid-Winter Trip have I made people pay the punishment fare to go to take SEPTA to Trenton. From Trenton, we took some pictures at the station before hopping one of the few times we've ever ridden a bus. We took it out to as close to the West Trenton station as we could get, and then walked the rest of the way, and then had lunch, and then came back in via an R3 West Trenton train all the way through Center City and out to Media. At the time, the R3 was one of the few SEPTA lines that went straight through, as opposed to, they had originally tried to pair them off, and the R5 would go through, but at least at this point, the R3 was one of the few, one of the other, as they began to split them up, like the R6 Norristown going to Wilmington. I'm not sure where the R2 Warminster would end up, but a lot of the R3s would go straight through as R3s, just like the R5s would go through as R5s. Anyway, we're gonna begin here. So I forget where I'm pretty sure the trip started at its normal location, but in Market East. But I think we might have started at 8th and Market. I forget what we did that year. But instead of catching a SEPTA train, we took Patco across the bridge to the what I like to call the Walter quote unquote Ann Rand Transportation Center in Camden, New Jersey, and transferred to an NJT RiverLINE. You can already see how much nicer this digital camera is. I think it went from a 3 megapixel to a 10. It used to be all about the megapixels, and now no one really cares about that. It's all sorts of other things. But anyway, these is when also you can see how nice and new the NJT RiverLINE equipment was. I mean, it still looks pretty good, but it is getting up there. Part of it is that when NJT bought the sort of did the RiverLINE as a package deal. Not that it was NJT; it was always sort of going to be a separate thing, because it was made by State Assembly leader Sweeney wanted to get some transit in the South Jersey area, since it always went up to the North Jersey. One problem is when they were getting these. I think these are a Stadler light rail vehicle or a modified one. They bought them. They had their choice of prime mover. These are diesel mechanical train sets, and they bought a Mercedes Marine engine, or selected that, and it was right at the end of that engine being out of service. And so they've always had issues keeping that maintaining that, because they got it just as it left support. So they've had to get third-party support or do a lot of the stuff in-house. Remember, this was leaving support nearly 20 years ago. So you can see that's why the RiverLINE folks are looking for slowly starting to look for new equipment. I don't know what the deal on that, though, is. Or maybe at least just rehab the old ones. One of the nice parts of the RiverLINE is that it's probably one of the better ways to get good photos of what's going on at the Camden Pavonia engine house. It's not only is it in a sort of gnarly part of Camden, New Jersey, it has a variety of anti-Camden barriers around it to keep out people from stealing stuff. So hold on here. Taking the RiverLINE is usually your best bet to get the photos. I'm going to do this one first because I can see them. So we have a whole bunch of, even by 2006, on its home turf, there wasn't a lot of Conrail paint. This is the way that the speed at which NS and CSX got rid of the Conrail painted locomotives was impressive. Maybe because Conrail just didn't invest in a lot of paint. I don't know. But in South Jersey, which was arguably Conrail's shared assets, and in theory could have had a pool of Conrail painted engines, it just got whatever was coming out of NS. Part of that was because there's not much cab signaling in South Jersey on the freight side, so it sort of encouraged CSX. They would park a lot of their non-cab signal equipment. Here we have what appears to be, wow, 4 8000 series GP40-2s in a variety of CSX schemes. I'm not a CSX scheme aficionado. No, sorry. That's a GP40. That's a GP40. The center ones are SD40, SD40. Those are SD50s. You can tell by the larger radiator sets. I bet that these would have still been 3,600 horsepower at the time. They had a lot of stuff in that 8000 series. '8665 and 8098. This is where I need to be referencing. Yeah, see, I was still doing stuff like this. Sorry, just bad crops and all the stuff. Yeah. So I don't. It's a good reason, It's definitely until I start hitting stuff where I'm not doing that anymore. I will definitely be re-editing these. Instead of getting rid of that, I'm going to go back one to the first photo. Because I wanted to get those numbers. Sorry about that. To this day, the Pavonia has always been a place where it's unfortunate. So it's like Conrail in name only. What's going on here? There it is. So save that second, and then that guy. Oops. Okay, that works. Here we have a pair of CSX Jeeps, and again, this is right around when I think Dark Future had actually been going on for a number of years, but for whatever reason in the South Jersey pool, they'd been giving us what are these YN2 schemed guys, 4452 and 2798 are probably both. I bet that's a 40 and that's a 38, but I can always go look that up. Hold on. Oops. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming in, Pete. 4452 and 2798. Let's see if we can get a thing on there. Bet these are still in service. 4452. Uh-oh. They've been renumbered, whatever they were. Wait, no, never mind. That's 45. Yeah, GP40 on the 44 and 2700. I bet is a 38-2. Yep. So this is I took because it's at the time this was seen as a Conrail innovation. 901028. This is a pushing platform. I'm sure you've heard of these. It's like those caboose where they have to weld the doors shut, so they don't count as a caboose with its inherent regulations. What is that? 901028. These are because there's a lot of stuff in the area with backup moves, especially on the Northeast Corridor. These were used as a way to avoid having crews hanging on the back of the car. There's a lot of bunch of weird stuff on the NEC where you needed a lot of long shoves. This is not Pavonia anymore. This is the Burlington Yard Office. So the way the RiverLINE, early in the area of light rail, the FRA was actually pretty chill about light rail, heavy rail commingling. If you were doing, if your traffic levels were light enough or whatever it is, you could pretty easily get a waiver to run your, interurban transit system. Not really commingle with it's not really about running mainline freight, but if you had a small provider running local freights on a line, the FRA was pretty chill. Both the Baltimore Light Rail and San Diego came in under that. This was a few years later after lobbying by, various lobbying to increase the safety standards, usually by railcar manufacturers. And once you get stuff in, it's sort of hard to be against safety. So anyway, the RiverLINE, they made them had to agree to a pretty strict time separation system. Now they've been able to get some leeway on their since, like using mainline derail switches, stuff like that. One of the ways that this, and let me pull up the map here. One of the ways on the NJT RiverLINE that was gonna, just from day one operation. So your RiverLINE bottom is there. The main, it used to, in theory there is a connection. So in theory they could be running freight from either direction, but it's effectively run out of Pavonia as a single direct. There is an outlet at the top, but it's really not a real outlet. It could be reactivated, but not right now. That goes up. That's been out of service for decades. The way that it would work is in Burlington they were able to set up a lot of the industrial stuff was in Burlington, New Jersey, and they basically created a separate yard. This is basically a few track yard and then effectively an industrial track serving these industrial parks. You can see all the tracks there. Those all ran off that siding track, so even during the time separation, you could have switching operations going on in this Burlington, New Jersey industrial zone. And this was the yard office for that. And here we are at Trenton, the Trenton terminal. This is not where the freight would go. This is purely a light rail only thing here. So the reason you have this weird sort of angular terminal here at Trenton, because, and I'm very surprised this hasn't gotten phase 2'd at some point. The whole plan was that the trains would go right here onto Clinton Avenue. I mean, they're light rail. They have street running in Camden, and it would run. How are they going to do this? Huh, that's actually a really good question. I always heard that they were going to run it to the State House, and I figured that was just right down the street. But it does not look it. So I'm guessing what they would have to do is, they would have had to make a right hand. They can make a right hand turn. Make a right hand turn. See, I didn't realize that there was so much of a north-south component there. Huh. Anyway. Yeah, they would have had to made a right hand turn, and then they could have run it down this main drag past City Hall. All the state offices and buildings, and just sort of run it straight down the main drag, which I'm guessing was the plan. I'm not sure why they hadn't do that. It seems like something that wouldn't have cost, right in front of the State House, wouldn't have cost a ridiculous amount of money to get that to effectively connect the entire state office complex via light rail. But again, it didn't happen. Again, this is not that long. It's like a mile. I'm betting that state people don't want to have their parking disrupted. That's almost certainly what it is, or they think it'll be congestion or something like that. But that was the plan, and that's why you're at this oddly shaped terminal. Sorry, some stuff's out of alignment there. At least some of my file names are now getting into my normal convention from what they used to be. Hey, here's a thing that doesn't really exist anymore. Retired well before their time. Your ALP 44, not an M. Although I think there was a bunch of them. Like there was the O's and E's and a bunch of. 1 second. Now they're off the RiverLINE. I can go check that out. So we were not catching a train here. Although no, wait. We had an earlier start to this trip. So this trip, again, the whole Midwinter series was designed to allow, it was based on a New York City subway-based forum, so there was a lot of New Yorkers, and I tried to make my trips to accommodate New Yorkers. This one, I think, got an earlier start. I normally would start the train at Philly at 9-ish, so that people could get down from New York City, do the trip, and then leave. And this time, I got an earlier start to ride the RiverLINE, but with the intention that people who were coming from New York City could meet the trip at Trenton. So that's why we were on the platform. We were waiting for people to. We basically said I advertised a separate start time for people who wanted to join the trip at Trenton. So that's why we're on the platform waiting for folks. For the ALP 44s, there were. The original, so the original 14 were ALP 44Os built in 1990, and they got a, geez, even those, wow, it's crazy how fast they got rid of those. 1990, and then they had an extended fleet, which was another 4, and then they got ALP 44Ms in 1995, and they were all retired by 2011. That's just unbelievable. Just mainly because they didn't want to maintain them. And they got money to buy replacements, so that's NJT's thing. If the feds will pay for new equipment, we don't have to maintain the old equipment. Oops. There we go. and a Comet 4. The Comet 5s, I think, should have been in service. Let me check that out as well. Oops. Comet 5 started service in 2002. I don't know when they were fully... I guess they were fully around by 2004. Effectively, at some point, NJT stopped, at least as far as I'm aware, all the trains they tried to retire. They did some degree of trying to retire the older cab cars. This would have been looks like a Comet 4. The 4s, so again, the 5s arguably, both the 4s and the 5s don't have full vestibule cabs for crush strength. The engineer's side does not have a door. So this looks like a Comet 4. The 3s did have a door on both sides. But it's just I don't know, whatever NJT cares about. I haven't seen a non-Comet 5 cab car leading in quite some time. Oh, that's why they could retire them, because they got all those multi-levels. So they just basically had a surplus of, with the quarter used to be all single level with the 2s, 3s, 4s, and to a degree 5s. And as soon as all those multi-levels came in, they had enough cab cars with those to retire everything that wasn't a C5 cab car. So down in the south, we'll have a C5 cab car in the Atlantic City line, and then everything else will be a Comet 4. I do like the 90s colors in the Comet 4s, though, the light blue and the light pink. Peach, or whatever you want to call it. So here, one second, I got to pull something out here. Not that. You can't see what I'm reaching for. So back in the day, I mentioned this yesterday about some of the stuff of how do I do... I had a way to name towers. And that generally applies to the interlockings the tower controls. And this gets a little hazy when you have a closed tower. And if it's open, yeah. But if it's closed, well, how closed is it? You have situations where a tower can be closed, but it hasn't been re-signaled, like COLA, or anything with relays. It might be, there might not be a person, but it's effectively the same electronics. Here at Fair, this has been re-signaled so many times. Like Fair might look like North Philadelphia, but it had a lever-based electromechanical machine installed. It was sort of like you buy a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. At some point, it went into. I'm sure it kept the levers, but it was entirely power operated. I'm betting when it closed, but it got C-teched. I don't know if it still had the levers. Probably did. If it ever got a panel. Either way. My choice for Fair has always been, well, do I prefix this as an Amtrak interlocking and then just use Fair as the name by itself for the tower, or do I treat the interlocking like it's like the tower is still there? And I'm not entirely sure. I think that in this case I treated it all like the tower, like as part of the interlocking tower name scheme. And this is going way deep into it, but I'm just trying to do my thing here. But I think I gave up on that because the signals are no longer numbered the same. So that was just getting odd. And I think that's where I sort of draw the line. If I'm using Amtrak signal designations, I should probably not use it I should treat it as a separate interlocking. And that's generally what my policy on the NEC has been, despite the fact that everything has a freaking tower. And that's because I actually have all the signal designations here in this book. So I'm gonna rename this from what I originally did, unless the tower is a feature of the thing. So let me just pull out my Trenton line guide here. If I can find it. There's Trenton. Okay. Cool. All right. Anyway, sorry for that explanation. It's a little long-winded. Ugh. Unfortunately, despite being one of the more complicated pneumatic-based interlockings on the mainline NEC, over the last number of years, FAIR was unfortunately converted to electric operation. I probably should have tried to do more to get photos. I did not. I mean, how many pictures of A5 switch machines can you get if you can't get right down on them? Same with the stuff around Baltimore. Oh, shoot, I was just... Oh, it didn't have my camera. That's right. Ugh. See, here the tower is there, but it's kind of hidden. And a lot of the reason I care about naming stuff is because if you're browsing around, let's say I need pictures of the tower or something like that, at least the way, unless yeah, you could set things up with some sort of database system, but honestly what you want to do is go to a folder with like all the tower photos or whatever, go to a location and then browse up and down using an image browser. That's the fastest way to get to the photo that you want. Because we don't really do it, we're still bad on image recognition on AI. Unless I can go to, unless we can get Star Trek type computer where I can just describe what I want. The best thing is get me close, let me scroll through about 20 photos, and then I'll find the one that I want. So that's why I have to care about what things are, because if I'm trying to go find this, what was this switch doing in this year, I'd like to be able to go to one place and pull it up. There we go, get that nice and straightened. So here we have an NJT Arrow 3, still hanging in there. Today, I forget how many I think they retired a couple of those. They've also gotten the gray painted roofs of shame. I don't think that the SEPTA Silverliner 4s have the roofs of shame. I would notice, but the Arrow 3s now have the roofs of shame. The roofs of shame is when you're getting that close to your retirement date that the roofs are starting to leak, and they don't really want to fix it, so they put on this gray paint that's a sealant to stop the roof leaks. So this is the 7 AE signal and the 5 AE signal. Yeah, well, the one 5 AE is hidden. Using the Amtrak system. So the E just means it's track 7 east, or what is in theory track 7. Wait a minute. Oh no, that's 5 east and 4. Track 7's that one next to it. Trenton is one of the worst stations for track numbers. The track numbers that they use for passengers to identify a track are not the same as the railroad track names in all cases. And that leads to problems. Even crews have gotten lost occasionally. So I forget exactly which one's mismatch, but Trenton is one of the more complicated ways to translate between where you are on a platform and what else is going on, what it says on the timetable. And here we have the 4AE signal. So again, it's track 4 east. The A means that if you're in an interlocking that has multiple signals on for a specific track, then you get A, B, C. So they pick a direction that they're starting from. In this case, it's going west to east. So there's already a 4E, and then you keep going through fair interlocking, and you'll hit this one. So this is 4EA. Or 4AE. Yeah. And then we can see the 43 switch. Again, that's using Amtrak system, not lever 43, but it means it connects track 4 to track 3. There's a both for that, in one direction you'd see 43, the other one you'd see 34. That's again something that it's consistent. It's internally consistent, but it's sort of hard to describe. I'm sure there's a jargon you can use to do that. But I'm not going to try here now. I always have to just go look it up. Certain things I don't try to. I don't put a lot of mental energy into. So I am able to use a lot of these as just fare because the tower is in the photo. If the tower is not in the photo, then I'm going to use the Amtrak designation. So I can cheat a little bit. Oops. Huh. Okay, that's the first 10. Let me pull up the next ones. And we'll see what's going on in the chat. If it doesn't lock up. Whoa. That got crazy. Shoving platform. Yeah, the shoving platforms take a lot of different things. I said the caboose with the welded up door is a pushing platform, shoving platform. It was odd because at the time the RiverLINE, the going to the State House was sold as it's funding. We don't have the money to. It was interesting because they at the time it was sold as it was $1 billion project, which everybody thought was which if you say that it sounds like a boondoggle. Today it sounds cheap. Everything's $1 billion, but that $1 billion actually included 10 years of operation. It was a design, build, operate contract, and so that's actually not that bad. They did a pretty good job with that. But I'm betting that people in Trenton just don't want to go into the State House. Yeah, I mean, it's arguably a waste of money, but if the feds are paying, that's why I hate the freaking FTA or whoever's funding these things. Like, no, even if I don't care how much you claim your thing is a boondoggle. Like, you bought it, you buy it, you bought it. You don't get more funds for new trains until 40 years. They need to find a way. It's sort of hard to make people like. Yes, I know that FAIR took over. What's now HAM was for a while considered to be the extended limits of FAIR. I don't know to what extent if it took over Morris or not. So I think I had there was something that actually had that information, but I forget what they were assigned to. I think Lincoln had a couple. I think that eventually got the Metro Park interlockings assigned to it, along with Edison. I forget. I have to go find that. There was an old like Web 1.0 page that had the mappings of what towers were open and closed right before SeaTech. Union never got remoted to dock. Union got control of Elmora, and then when they closed Union, it went directly to the new Section 9 dispatcher. In fact, Section 9 was working out of dock for that one morning. They had a dude there with a laptop dispatching from the tower. Yeah, it's 'cause I know. So Fair had its ham section. I just don't know. The only other thing that could have had is Grundy and or Morris. I just not sure about those. Those might have been converted directly to SeaTech. It all depends where the break line is. When I say break, I mean where the division post right now is between Grundy and Holmes. It moves around a little bit. What's Mid-Atlantic? What's New York? My Amtrak freight. That's always one of those things where it lets a it's one of those things that they can change. Lets a manager say I implemented something without really making a change. So sometimes they'll send it up to Trenton. Sometimes that division post will go down. I still think it's hovering right now around Holmes. Doc controlled everything between north of Elmora. But again, I mean, I'm very certain about what happened at Union. Because Union was there, and they literally had this. I remember this story. I mean, I have the bulletin order, or I have the bulletin order from it. They had a SeaTech 9 dispatcher on site at Union for one morning when they were doing the cutover, and then the next shift, it was SeaTech 9 was in New York. It was SeaTech. Doc still controlled Lane, Haynes, Hunter, Ray, a whole bunch of stuff. Well, it's multiple people's in terms of the. Part of it was the PRR for that. I mean, but if you go back to the original fair, I'm going on and on here. If you go back to the diagram, that I don't think that the signal I just showed 4AE that wasn't there during the PRR era, because they wouldn't have had a reverse direction high signal like that. So I don't know when that went in. I don't know if it went in when fair was closed. I don't know. Well, actually, no, we can find out because I have those diagrams up. So this is 1992. This is what became ham. Ham went in when Nassau was closed. That's the one at Princeton. And Milham, I don't know when they were both closed. But the reason they have that weird 20-mile gap that they refused to ever remedy was at some point in the NECIP, there was basically a budget shortfall, and that's how Amtrak closed it, by eliminating Nassau completely. Because there are fewer NJT stations, there's not one at Midway. They were able to save some amount of money. What is now a ham interlocking was the replacement for Milham, which would have been about 2 miles down the track, just south of the current Hamilton station. But in 1992, it was known as extended limits of fare. But that's never been touched. That is what it is. Yeah. So when fare was open, fare was still open in 1992, and it was still using its original signal configuration. The signal that I just showed you is the 4AE, would have been the 38L reverse direction dwarf. So yeah, that went in when it got SeaTech'd. So that was an Amtrak decision to put that one on the platform, and it's also a left-hand position signal too. I don't know what interlocking machine was in fare at this point, but I'm betting that it was still using its USNS electromechanical. When I say electromechanical, like it had Armstrong levers, but those were just working the switches, and it had the little like overhead ones. I'm betting just from all of this that it was still using the original stuff. I could totally be wrong, but my spidey sense says that's what it was up to. Of course, at this time, Morris had been closed in 1992, which again implies that Morris was remote to fare, and Grundy was also closed by 1992. Yeah, wait, no, Grundy was open. So I'm betting that Fair had Morris and those extended limits. So that's I'm sure again someone can go and find the appropriate timetable. I need to get on with these photos. I'm going to be up for another. This is going to be another 2-hour set here. I love that little like restricting only matte high signal next to Fair. By the way, this is me like being astonished that my camera went from a 3x zoom to a 10x zoom. And yes, I use a combination. I have a DSLR, but I also have these mid-range point and shoots that I absolutely love because they're compact, they're inexpensive, they give you great dynamic. You know, you can be out there and just get you can just get everything. You know, for taking pictures of signals and towers, you don't need something fancy. And I love these. I love these ones to death. So hold on here. This is a nice time of morning to be out there too. Good light. I was shocked by how the improvement in quality from my original 3 megapixel 3x zoom camera to this one was. This is just one. I remember I took this photo. I zoomed all the way the heck in. I'm like, whoa! Look how I can see everything from here, and it's only gotten better. With the capabilities of these, of I can do a lot of photos just standing around and not having to get all up in the right of way to get the pictures I need. I can zoom through fences, over fences. I was taking pictures over, because now I have the LCD on the back, is little flippable screen that I can maneuver around, so I can hold it up over one of those NEC catenary shields and get photos of signals or trains going underneath, just holding the camera up above my head, which is not something you can really do with a DSLR. See, this is the 8BE signal too. That's not a good name for it, whatever. So what do I have here? I have, that's the 12 switch. The 8BE is on the wall track. Wait, where did I put that? No. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that wasn't even there back in the day. Again, that's a new. Yeah, that was a part of the rebuild. Not sure why they made that a mast. Maybe they had other plans for that track. Anyway, so that's the 12 switches in there and the 61. Oops. All right, sorry about that. Okay, these are one of these, or at least I think at least some of these should both be original. In that original diagram, yeah, this would have been so the other one was 38L. This would have been the 30L and 20L because those center tracks are bidirectional. But this time of day, this is the 3AE and 2AE signals. Back in when the towers open, these would have had limited speed triangles. That thing that only exists now in Canada in Bryn Mawr. I need to do more photos at. I need to do way more photos at Trenton. I'm just never. Anytime I'm there, I'm always trying to be somewhere else. That's the bad part of the RiverLINE. You're always in a hurry trying to catch it. and then people harass you. Not as bad as it used to be, but Trenton is one of those places just because there's always people hanging around, either employees or cops or employees that call the cops. I do like being able to get up and close and personal, and these are some of Amtrak's very early LED signals. One of their first batches that were LED'd. And they're great because they have the whatever you have in the driver, they fade. They don't. It's not on off. They don't clip, which I cannot stand LED railroad signals that clip. You really need to. I feel like that the incandescent style fading is way more salient for a flashing aspect than the clip. I don't know. It just gets my attention better. Part of how much of what I'll call season 6 I'm going to try to redo or want to stream about is going to be how quickly do I get into crazy amounts of photo quantity and how much of it is just bad, like bland signal stuff. Whoops. Whoa, what did I do? Wait, oh. That's the problem. And here we have our 5 AE pedal stool and 7 AE dwarf. And some nice CP valve action going on there. I'm not sure who those belong to. I'm betting it's definitely the 42 signal switch. But yeah, whose would those belong to? There should be 2. In case you're wondering, that concertina wire enclosure, that's where the relay hut for the new fare, the redone 1990s, 1994, I think is when the tower was closed. Don't know. Again, given by the 1992 diagram, it's pretty clear that the tower was not re-signaled. At least it wasn't really re-signaled. Sorry, just looking at something. Whoops, a little too much there. Whoops. That ought to do it. Okay. And we have fare, and we have the again the 43 switch right there. Another thing that I think fare might have lost were the direct burner heaters. Probably better for the environment. Also, with it's both better to prevent global warming and less necessary because of global warming. Amtrak's generally been moving to electric heating. Fare had its own natural gas pipeline, and Conrail also was a big user of these shrouded burner bars. These like Metro Park, these are one of the more what I call like one of the more heavily utilized points set of turnouts on the NEC. Because almost every regional, not only do you have NJT stuff needing to stop here, almost every regional except everything except for Acela pretty much, or some morning trains will make this diverging move to pull over to platform. When you have that's one of those things where it gets interesting when you have snow plans that basically would force Amtrak's to use they would just straight on a sufficiently large snow plan. That means you straight rail, like the most severe snow plan is you straight rail the NEC between New York and Washington. I'm not kidding. Snow plans are like the latest snow. You have I think it's snow plan A, snow plan B, snow plan C1, and snow plan C2. I could be wrong, but each one of them you use less switches. So A is you turn on the heaters. B is you basically stop making a bunch of certain switches you just no longer move because maintainers can't maintain them. And then under the two most severe ones, the most severe snow plan is straight rail the NEC. No diverging moves, and they have plans for this of how you get a train from Washington down to DC. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. Amtrak is increasingly risk averse, but in theory, they could operate with pretty bad snowstorms. They could keep the NEC going. But generally, Amtrak, anytime they get any sort of snowstorm, they're just going to cancel service. Fun fact on snow plans, you can actually, if the snow gets bad enough, a heater will become increasingly ineffective. As in, it's not like, it's just not keeping up with the snow. It becomes worse because if it can't keep up, it's still melting, and that melting turns into ice. So it's almost worse to have a heater that can't keep up than just to not turn the heat on at all. But that's not usually a consideration, but it just turns into you have to be very, very careful. You have to know about that situation ahead of time, because when things ice up sufficiently, or there was a story of someone who didn't quite follow the snow plan, and he got points stuck on center, and then you're screwed because now nothing can get over them. I think a Acela got severely delayed in a fairly minor snowstorm because of that. And when you got to send a guy can't clear that using a broom, because it's ice. It's solid. You gotta pour the oil on or use a blowtorch or whatever. So the snow plan is there for a reason, and it's important that they follow it. All right, I'm on the platform. That is the 12 switch. Man, those row homes don't look great, but I bet those have all been rehabbed and are really expensive right now. One of the advantages to increased housing prices, can you imagine having boarded up row homes that close to the Trenton station? Holy crap! Those are easily $400,000 row homes right now. I'm gonna go. As soon as we're done this set, I'm going to pull up the street view and check out what looks like boarded up homes there. I'm mainly getting a photo of this 12 switch. I can never tell how Amtrak does its either end of a turnout. One of them's A, one of them's B, and I can never quite, there's no good way to, unless you know it. It's consistent, but it's hard to tell unless you know if you use it a lot. I'm betting that this is A. These are limited speed crossovers. That's why they were outfitted early with 2-point machines. You don't really need 2-point machines for a number 20. I'm not sure why the PR thought that they did. You generally need a back drive, though. So I'm guessing that Amtrak just wanted the stuff to throw a little faster. I've heard the thing that a point machine can throw within, 600 milliseconds. So a pneumatic one. But again, no one really wants that amount of throw speed is not generally valued anymore. Here we have another photo of Fair. There we go. And I do not have to worry. I have so much more resolution to work with here. I love it. Here we have some of an air reservoir on the east side. I love all the kit and all the pomp and circumstance you get with the air plants. Not only the sounds and whatnot, but you have you got the pipeline. Everything's nicely painted. All these random reservoirs. This is just like a holding reservoir in case they're doing a lot of moves to keep the air pressure up. Really, really neat stuff. Fair appears to have had air lines on both the north and south side. Early on, you would have had one giant air compressor plant in the basement of the tower. Over time, those were replaced with small cabinets. You'll usually recognize it. It's a little relay cabinet. It looks like a small one, but there's always going to be some air reservoirs next to it. They just became smaller and smaller over the years. Oh, lost a lot of people there. I'm not sure what's going on. Sorry if I'm being boring. It looks like I moved over to the other side of the platform. I forget how much time we had during this remember, I always keep remembering this is a midwinter trip. So if you go on to the PRR's fare diagram, I'll pull that up in just a second. Sorry. If I go to the PRR's fare diagram, so what is labeled on this 2009 Amtrak chart as track 0 is labeled as South High, and then that one across is called North Low. And there's, at least now, there's a... Oh, okay, never mind. I'm sorry. Fare was upgraded to a Model 14 at some point back in the day. That makes sense. Duh, it wasn't using the stupid electromechanical machine. It was built in like 1914. It got upgraded at some point. 75 lever frame. That's nothing to sneeze at. Let me find the dates on this. I don't have... Oh, they don't give me dates. Usually these plans are going to have the dates. Okay, so it was definitely upgraded, probably sometime in the 30s. Here we go. Right, correct revision. No dates. So okay, so fare got upgraded. And then, yeah, it probably used that Model 14 until it was closed, but was gaining and probably had connection. It probably was controlling that extended limits and was also controlling Morris by 1990, as of 1992. The New York division got C-Teched before the Mid-Atlantic, at least around Philly. So anyway, yeah, so we have North High, South High track, North Low. I think that sometimes that they call that like track 1, track 2, track 3, and track 4, even though the actual tracks are South High or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like 4, I don't get. I haven't been to Trenton in a while, but I know that like the passenger-facing track numbers don't match the railroad timetable numbers, and almost all other stations try to avoid this because employees get lost. Like in SEPTA at their 30th Street upper level, the Maryland Division tracks are 5 and 6, and the tracks go 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 4. They didn't try to. They don't sugarcoat it for the passengers at most places. So anyway, this is the. I love that stick dwarf there. That's the 8AE and the 6BE signals and the 86 switch. Is that 86? It should be. Yeah. Sorry for any whatever. Okay, hold on. Let me get this banged out here. Sorry, I'm just checking something. I think I have some. There might be some. There might be some errors in this diagram here. I think this is the 6AE. Yeah, an 8AE. Plus the 86A switch. I don't know. That's something I should check out, if that low-level track is still being used. Because there's always been weird stuff. Yeah, it looks this. So yeah, that low. I don't know what uses that low-level track, or if anything's ever scheduled to use that low-level track anymore. It was more important back before the Morrisville yard was used, and they had to do all these what I called the Trenton Shuffle, using limited yard space up and around the station they would just shuttle these trains all over the place. Then they just move them across the river. So effectively, this is no longer really a terminal station for NJT. It's it's sort of a through station, and they don't really need that low-level platform. If ridership and whatever ever rebound, maybe they'll extend that, raise it up a bit. It also appears that switch has been straight up removed. So the switches used to be there, and then they had that 86 switch is gone. They really don't want to use that low-level track anymore. That 86 switch is gone. That was there because you wanted to have a train that could pull up on that little short low-level platform, and then it would be able to cross over to the NEC without having to go all the way down this sort of slow-speed wall track. But that looks like what they've decided to do is just 80. They literally 86 the 86 switch. It used to be the 29 switch there. I wonder if that signal is even still there. Alright, now I'm just going to straighten this guy out. This is the famous, I have some really great photos of this 1AE signal in the fog. There's some really neat fog stuff going on. You get, in certain mornings. I forget if I was going up to see the holiday train or what. And note the 6AW switch there. Again, I'm not sure that's even necessary. I'll have to see if that's even... they might. I wouldn't be surprised if they just went out and removed it. That would have probably been a new thing whenever they were putting in the new switches. Like, why bother? Just axe that. And a sturdy old AEM7 number 921 here arriving. So I was doing my own thing. Oh yeah, you can see half the people on my trip. These guys are all with me. Rail fans, cameras. I think that might be one of my people over there too. I had a time that I was going to be here. So where the trip was going on, I definitely had a departure time because we had that bus to catch. And, people were, I was like, all right, be on this train or don't be. Oops, didn't resize that. All right. Second round is done. Let's see what we got, people. Any problems on the chat? Oh yeah, by the way, happy Thanksgiving again. I mentioned early on, but I'll mention it again. Yes, this would also been that's where anything needing to go down. The Nellie Bly route. Part of this, I think I can't remember for sure, but that was not my first time at Trenton that morning. The RiverLINE had announced a special limited stop run departing Camden at like 5:30 in the morning. So I think I actually took that up to Trenton. It was dark. It wasn't that exciting. And I think did I come back and then go back? Did I go back and forth? I can't remember what the heck I did. Wait, I pulled up the blog report. Oh, we started at Ayn Rand. Okay. Yeah, at some point I tried that thing. I met some people up there. So, no, I didn't do that. But anyway, when they instituted that express stop, I think some people wanted to call it the Crusader. I'm like, that's not the Crusader. It's the Nellie Bly. A lot of you will still call it the Crusader. Oh, what the heck is this? Did I even keep this photo? Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. Let me just... There we go. Next. Yeah, this is a dumper. Here we go. I thought I went through here looking for like the bad photos that weren't really worth saving. Here we have a nice Keystone arriving, doing the thing that I said that they do with the crossover move there. Nothing. I said not out of the ordinary, but like every freaking Amtrak train comes in does that little crossover move. Nah, it's bad naming right there. So we have AEM 7928. I think that looks like a DC. Amtrak did like using the DCs on keystones and other things that didn't quite need this much pulling power. It's diverging over the 43 switch. And we have the 3 AE, oops, sorry, the 2. Trenton is a pretty nice place. Again, I haven't hung out there as much as I should. I just don't know the situation of how long can you camp on the platform before you start getting yelled at. Some things it's odd in the 9/11 time frame. Yeah. Oh, that was one of the things with the group. If you're within a large enough group, they tended to not bug you. So that was one of the other reasons I did enjoy doing this trip, was just because you could get away with a lot more. And during the Christmas holiday season, there was a little bit more leeway. A lot of the security forces tended to be on leave. So here's an interesting thing. So normally on the platforms when the Amtrak trains pull in, they're facing a flashing, limited clear, color position light. One thing I have noticed was that when a train was diverging up into Morrisville Yard, so if it was going, again, over the same switch, so basically if you were going to get a medium approach medium, which you can't have over PL, in Conrail, what they would do is you would diverge over an approach medium and then take the next signal, whatever that is. You could just keep diverging over approach mediums back to back to back. At this case at Amtrak, because you had the cab signals, if you were going medium approach medium, you would go, if you were going just diverging once, it'd go limited clear. But if you were going to diverge back to back at here and Morris, you'd get a medium clear. Just a little thing that I noticed. Now, I guess 28's an AC. I'd see the extra stuff on the roof. Kind of looks like the back cab door was open there. Oh boy. Okay. Yes, I know the Crusader went via, but that's the whole point. Like, as soon as they announced that service, a whole bunch of people, like in my, the rail fan, not necessarily a lot of rail fan. I don't want to be like, it's like, oh, the Twitter consensus was this. But a lot of people just started calling it the Crusader. I'm like, why? It's not. Why are you calling it the Crusader? I think it's the intention. Like the Nellie Bly was an Atlantic City focused train, so the Crusader was more apt in terms of how it was trying to be used. Oops. My I love these PLs right by the concourse. It's so great when you're up there. I mean, even today, even after it got remodeled, you're still in that Trenton concourse, and those beefy old position light USNS position light signals are right out the window, with a beautiful view of the NEC. And I'll tell you one thing. When you see something displayed on one of these, that's 9 times out of 10. There's look quick, because there's going to be an Acela going through. I've been at Trenton and I'm there and stuff's doing its thing. I'm like, that's odd. There's a clear signal on the 2AW or the 3A. Like there's a clear signal on those. What are these? Yeah, 2AW, 3AW, and then suddenly then before you notice, an Acela's blasting through the station and you haven't gotten the photo because you weren't quick enough. And here we have our little guy. Who's on the back? Oh, this is before they put they closed off the door. 9649. I see 9649 all over the place. Those 9600 cab cars, they can't stop them. Here we go. 96. Yep, that's all I'm doing there. I'm still, in my original editing, I was still doing bad stuff with the colors, overusing that clarify filter that would zap the saturation. Right there. Right there. Okay. Yeah, that reverse direction cantilever on the 1AW signal is definitely a hallmark of that 1990s era Amtrak re-signaling effort. I don't know if they still have those types of cantilevers, but a bunch of those went up. Baltimore had one. I think there's one at Oak. It's definitely a thing that they were using for a while. All right, what's next? Okay, hey, we're at West Trenton. So, like I said, we took the bus to West Trenton. Hold on. So, this was just a quick thing of how you get there. There was some bus. I know that there is a bus that goes to West Trenton. Like, at least there is now. I can't remember if it was just... Remember, there's no Google Maps at this point that you could just click on and it'll tell you the bus route. As best I could tell, we got as far as there. Right there. The bus came out this road, and it would make a turn and go the opposite direction. So we had to walk the remaining... I think we did there, and came down this beautiful... It was a nice walk. Had to go past, like, the school for the deaf and whatever was there. About 1 mile. So it took about half an hour or so. We had to walk the remaining part of the route. I think that's some sort of... What is that? Yeah, it's NJ School for the Deaf. And we got to the West Trenton Station. So first off, what road is this? Sullivan Way. I think it has a county number, but I can't... Google isn't really good about county street numbers. A lot of nice infrastructure on the West Trenton terminal as well, including this nice part of the canopy. I don't think that this side of the track... Oh, yeah. Thanks to the septaration, this part is no longer really used anymore. Oh, wait. We forgot to do the thing that I promised. Oh, wow. Wait, hold on. Let's do a couple of things. first, let's see what is if that track access shed or what's left of it. Okay, it's still there. That's nice. Again, you can't board from that side because it's been separated from CSX, and it is definitely not looking as nice as it used to. There's an office. There's stuff in that building, so I guess they just have that as a nice little walkway. The second thing I wanted to see is the state of those row homes next to the Trenton station. It would have been these. Well, that's not them, but they're not. Those aren't boarded up. It was these guys right here. That could have been it. Yeah. Hey, it looks like maybe whatever was there got knocked down. Oh, ugh. They got the expanded metal anti-terrorism fencing. How long has that been there since? Yep, since 2011 at least. Oh well. Oh, there's those not great looking row homes. It looks like just whatever's there has just been slowly those trees have been growing at a pretty nice clip. Wow, that's pretty crazy how fast those trees grow. Okay, sorry. That was a little bit of a side trip there. West Trenton Station. And oh, here we go. So we got in there just in time to see this pretty nice CSX local double-ended there. So the old Trent before the SEPTAration happened, where SEPTA was basically like CSX and SEPTA just didn't even want to try playing nice with each other, involving either PTC or dispatching issues. They just got fed up, sick and tired with it. So, even before the SEPTAration, this whole sort of segment was still. I mean, I guess it was arguable that you could have, CSX. I guess they could use both tracks, but they tended to stay on the one. It's fascinating how little siding capacity there is between CP Port Reading Junction in Bolingbrook and Philadelphia. There's one siding between here, like north of here. There's one at Neshaminy Falls, and then there's Woodburn Yard, and everything else is single track. It's like this is the Northeast, and there's barely any freight capacity to go north or south. I do have the Trent Conrail diagram, so that's the 4N and the 2N signals. 2767 is going to be a GP38. Oh, that's right. This is a north-south. Oh, wait, no, it is east-west, is it? No, it is. It's north-south. See, the corridor is east-west, but the Trent line is north-south. Go figure. So for whatever reason, he's doing a diverge here instead of having come straight from CP Wing. Maybe, he could have been coming off that Trenton Industrial. or doing something. So there used to be an industrial track. You can see there's a Y. And in fact, there's still rail on it, but I had no idea the last time that was ever used. No clue when that was ever used. It could be. I'm sure that if someone there, again, if Andy Muller would have signed up, if he was in charge, he'd be running, hundreds of cars on that industrial track a year. Wow, that's interesting. Whatever was there is gone. There was also yard capacity. So here you can see how it's been SEPTA rated. The Trenton line just completely bypasses what used to be the main tracks. That's all now SEPTA yard. There's the Y, but I think there was actually some yard space in there too. Just a total lack of imagination. And then we have CSX 2767 just at West Trenton. Is that the right labeling? Blah, blah, blah. Don't want to do that. Yeah. Good enough. All right, we're almost to the last little bit of thing here. So I will go and see what people have in the chat, and I'll be right there. There it goes. Is anyone still left? Oh, we got people left. I mean, it's a thing. SEPTA has SEPTA rated out CSX everywhere it possibly could on the RRA. It's like SEPTA's like they will gladly take a cut in capacity so they could not have to deal with working nicely with someone. Sorry, I'm just reading the thing here. Okay, let me get down to the last little chunk. $92. Okay, doke. At the risk of having a long session tomorrow, that would be 56. So let me cut that guy. That's junk. Sorry, I'm just doing a quick browse ahead to see if there's a lot of stuff that is going to get cut for content here. And there probably is. So I'll browse that tomorrow, but I'll just do a quick thing of 12 today, and then that'll be good. Got a lot of fun stuff in this last little set. This is a good break point, too. First off, tell me this isn't a very, very, very CSX thing to see. We've got, 2767 just totally leaning in on being a steam locomotive. I usually get pretty good luck on these excursions, and this is no exception of having he's just pulled through the crossover and he's notching it up, and out comes the smoke. That's just wonderful. And there was a lot of smoke, too. Ooh, what is it? 6109. GP40-2. Yeah, they have a couple pools of GP40s because the Seaboard loved GP40s. They very flat. They would use those for their a lot of their road freights were back in the day were behind GP40s just because they had no grades. So they have a whole bunch of and B&O used a bunch too. So they have like a couple different blocks GP40-2s. Sorry. Oops, what am I doing here? Could use some more sharpness than that. Screw it, I'm done. Next. Duh. Trent was all I would hang out at Trent. This was Trenton. Trent was one of my what do you call it? Thanksgiving go-to locations. The thing I did today is yesterday I went out on the NEC to take Amtrak pre-Thanksgiving photos. And what I used to do when I was out with Bob, we would do some NEC photos like at Langhorne or wherever. And there's nothing I can. I don't have to not do this anymore. But and then we would always end up at Trent for whatever reason. Like we'd go take pictures at Morrisville, then we'd drive to Trent, or we'd go to we'd always sort of end up at Trent. And I spent a lot of time there. I don't think I've really gone back since they did the septaration. It's just not as interesting anymore. By the way, note the DIB signs for delay and block. This is one of the more egregious delay. So delay and block rule applied to non-cab signal territory after the Silver Spring crash, where trains, after making a station stop inside the distance signal before inside the control zone of an interlock before an interlocking was restricted to 40 miles an hour. And every station before that interlocking had to have this delay and block notification sign. You were literally 5 feet from the signal, and they had to put the delay and block notification sign so the train would go no more than 40 miles an hour after making the station stop for the next 3 feet. I should do a post on that. If I haven't done that already, I should definitely do a blog post on the bad DIB signs, and they're all over the place because there's a lot of interlockings after stations. Oh, it's CP Trent. Trent was had a USNS style C machine. I mean, it's a unit lever machine. This was open pretty far into the 1990s. It was the last. So the Reading Railroad did. I even have the Reading diagrams up as well. Here we have the Trent ones. Reading was unlike the PRR, did a lot of consolidation and put almost all of its interlockings under control of Wind and Wayne at the Wayne Tower. Trent was the one exception. It controlled local. It didn't control much. Everything up through it was wind, but I think it controlled a couple of things beyond it on the way to Boundbrook, like today's CP Wing and such. But I remember when I first started getting into towers that Trent had recently closed. And then I actually got into Trent Tower on one of those SEPTA Silverliner 2 things, and they still have the CTC board, but all the unit lever, all the panels and stuff, it's like the console is there, but none of the guts, all the guts and levers and everything else are out. So unfortunately, the CP Trent infrastructure had a fairly short life. Although a lot of it got repurposed by SEPTA. Technically, what was a lot of the Trent stuff, what I'm going to, these signals and whatnot, SEPTA put in their own mass signal, but they left. It was kind of a hatchet job. Some stayed the same, some were replaced. CSX just sort of booked, like they didn't want any part of it. So here we have the 4N and 2N signals. A neat thing, because I always would wonder, because in NORAC, at least for a while, you could not display an approach on a dwarf. I think they've fixed that, but don't quote me on that. I have to go back and look. There's some places in bulletin orders. But I was always wondering how they would do that, because here, I'm trying to think if you would have, the next, how would they do the approach? That dwarf would just display medium approach for an approach, a straight shot approach, even if you weren't diverging. I even have a video of it flashing away, showing how that worked. Another interesting part of CP Trent was the 4S dwarf, 4S-1 dwarf, where you can see right there, it's that 4-stacker. The top two units on that were green, so I knew that it had 4 lamps, so it could do a double green clear, because it needed to be able to display that. But until I saw it, it was the top 2 that are. I even have a photo that will display the clean. So the lamps on that are green, green, yellow, red, as opposed to something that I thought would be like green, yellow, green, red, to put some separation in there. This was controlled from the quote unquote tower, co-located at the Wayne Junction in Wayne Tower, up through 2003, and then it was SEPTA dispatch desk, blah 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 blah, whatever. This is, to this day, Trent Tower is used as a crew base. Has a bath. So the reason we got in there is because on the this Friends of the Philadelphia Trolleys charter, we got up to Trent, and I think that we had to wait for a SEPTA headway. Then a freight train came, so we were kind of stuck at Trent. The trains don't have bathrooms, so we went in there because that's where the bathroom was. So we had this 2-car set full of rail fans all filed in to use the bathroom in Trent Tower. It was nice that they were able to do it for us, though. This isn't a great photo. It's a little blurry, but I'll stick with it. Here we have a SEPTA R3 coming out of the yard. That's what they would tended to do. Sometimes they would wait on the main. Midday, not a lot of traffic movement. The SEPTA train could just pull forward next to the tower. The crew would get off, go into the tower, do their thing. Sometimes they would go into the yard. This guy went into the yard. Probably, again, the CSX freight had to go through, so this guy was waiting for him to clear. This is a Silverliner 4, number 413. 418, I mean. The 400 series is when they were... the 400 series was SEPTA's... What the hell did I do here? SEPTA's attempt to... when they were replacing the PCB-filled transformers, they started renumbering the affected Silverliner 4s. Oh, I deleted that one. they started renaming them into the 400 series. Then they stopped, and then they put other ones. They would rename them into other vacant number positions. It's a mess. So sometimes you'll have something in the PRR block that was originally a Reading. I don't know. It's been very hard. Someone put it on Wikipedia once, and then someone else deleted it. The chart of what the Silverliner 4 numbering scheme was. Ugh. Oh, hey Brian. Sorry, I had to start at the regular time. I knew this was going to be a slightly long session. Whoa! And boy, is it. I'm almost done though. Thanks for joining though. And you can see the cars for the cruise here. I'm just trying to finish up these West Trenton. So one of the things on this trip, it was interesting. I had a lot of people show up on this trip. I'm not entirely sure what caused the magic. But we went to a restaurant that used to be directly across the West Trenton station. The restaurant is recently closed. That's another reason I don't go to West Trenton anymore. It's known as Freddy's. It's right there. Pretty nice place. Good lunch. The issue was that with all these New York kids, it was a lot of New York rail fan types who didn't tend to get out or go eat out a lot, and they all forgot. Like a lot of them just didn't know you had to tip. Like not like you don't have to, but like they didn't know that, like how that works. So at the end of the thing, we're trying to figure out. They didn't split all the checks, trying to figure everything out, and like we're really, really, really short. Like by $20, $40 in terms of the tip stuff. So the people who had stayed behind were like, oh God. So we had to all toss in extra money to pay for the New Yorker kids. I don't know which photos were taken before we went in to eat lunch and after we went in to eat lunch. So I don't know if we showed up, that smoking local went by, then we ate lunch, or we ate lunch, came out, and then the smoking local went by. I feel like there was a break here. That's odd. I thought 418 was leaving the yard. It looks like they had the lights on and the lights were on, and no one was really home there. Two left. Ugh. Is this even something I should bother with? Nah, I'm not. I have better photos of this. That's just junk. That's gone. Okay, here we go. 418 coming out of the yard. By straightening it, I kind of lose the dwarf signal, but whatever. I do have a lot of photos of the signals and stuff here at Trent Interlocking. Alright, what did I do with this before? Oh, I just sort of blew it out. Alright, whatever. That's the number 1 switch. Alrighty, well, thank you so much. That's it. Getting late. I'll check the questions in just a second. Let me just organize things. Hopefully tomorrow I can dump a bunch of the junk photos, and then we can. What's next? Yeah, we can get through that quicker. So thank you for my second to last Thanksgiving weekend sort of telethon here. I hope everybody had a great time with their friends and family. I'll hope to get these streams. For anyone who missed parts of it, I should hopefully get these posted sooner rather than later. Definitely before the end of next weekend. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow night. Have a great time, and let me just see what else is going on. Oh, a lot of stuff now. I forget. It was only like an extra for the people that stayed. It was like a bunch of like $5 extra. But anyway, again, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining. Again, tomorrow, if anyone wants a reason to show up, like I said, we cover inbound on the R3. Looks like we were wrong railing a bit. Had to cross over at Neshaminy, coming on through the newly rebuilt Jenkintown interlocking. Wayne. Oh God, see, I wasn't quite getting the hang of what was going on with the zoom. I might have had it in a weird focus mode. And we went all the way out to Media, some Route 101, 102, and some Route 15 trolley stuff. So that's what you guys have to look forward to tomorrow. I will see you then, and until then, I hope everyone has a great Black Friday, doing whatever shopping and needs they need to get done. So it's midnight. And you guys have a great time, and thanks for showing up and watching.